Hello again from Fired Up. I'm your host for the show, Bob Irwin, broadcasting from Rigel Studios here in Las Vegas, Nevada. This show is about guns, related politics, and self-defense issues. Fired Up is on my website, Fired Up with Bob Irwin, as well as the American Guns and Glory Network, YouTube, and numerous other media. If your local internet provider doesn't carry Fired Up, ask them to do that. A new show is posted every Thursday around 5 p.m. Pacific Time. The audio is rebroadcast for radio listeners Saturdays at noon on the Nevada Talk Network. You can check out KELY1230.com for the station in your part of Nevada. If you have questions or comments, send me an email to bob@firedupmail.com or leave a message on my office recorder. That is 257-1060. Once again, that's 257-1060, area code 702. If you would like a call back, please leave your contact information or an email address so I can reach you. There are several hundred defensive uses of firearms each week in the United States, rarely truthfully or fully covered by news media. I always select a few for my listeners' information. Most are good shootings, some not so good, but all are educational for those of you that keep a defensive firearm at home or carry one out in public. Individual incidents are generally adjudicated under local law. The advice given here may not apply in the area where you live. Advice from a local gun-savvy defense attorney is always recommended. Stories are often paraphrased for clarity by translation by me from police jargon, lawyer speak, and regional accents into more standard American English. Incidents are as reported with the names of the participants deleted. The names of the cops, the lawyers, and the media are generally used. First up again, as we've been doing the last several weeks, is another gun law update. Here we go again. On March 11, 2021, United States Senator Dianne Feinstein introduced the assault weapons ban of 2021, an updated bill to ban the sale, transfer, manufacture, and importation of military-style assault weapons, whatever those are, and high-capacity ammunition magazines. Senator Feinstein said, "It's been 17 years since the original assault weapon ban expired, and the plague of gun violence continues to grow in this country. We're now seeing a rise in domestic terrorism, and military-style assault weapons are increasingly becoming the guns of choice for these dangerous groups. I'm hopeful that with the new administration and Democratic control of the Senate, we can pass, finally, common sense gun reforms to remove these deadly weapons from our communities." The assault weapons ban of 2021, here it is in a little bit abbreviated terms, but this is what is off her website actually, bans the sale, manufacture, transfer, and importation of assault weapons by name, bans any assault weapon with a magazine that is not a fixed ammunition magazine and has one or more of the following military characteristics, including a pistol grip, a forward grip, a barrel shroud, a threaded barrel, or a folding or telescoping stock. The prior bill had to have two features. Now it only needs one. Bans magazines and other ammunition feeding devices that hold more than 10 rounds of ammunition, which allow shooters to quickly fire many rounds without needing to reload. Requires a background check on any future sale, trade, or gifting of an assault weapon covered by the bill. Requires that grandfathered assault weapons are stored using a secure gun storage or safety device like a trigger lock. Prohibits the transfer of high-capacity ammunition magazines. Are you seeing where this is going, folks? Bans bump fire stocks and other devices that allow semi-automatic weapons to fire at full automatic rates. Exemptions to the bill. This bill exempts by name more than 2,200 guns used for hunting, household defense, or recreational purposes. This is a big jump here. This one has a list of guns you're allowed to have. Putting the dog wagging the tail again. The bill includes a grandfather clause that exempts all weapons lawfully possessed at the date of enactment. Owners may keep existing weapons and magazines. Now, if you believe that last part, comments in this, the above story was edited due to broadcast time constraints. Obviously, all these non-transferable items must be registered with the government so owners can prove that the items are legal. When the federal government or individual states, counties, and cities decide to restrict possession, there will be a ready-made federal seizure list available. You have to list it to make it legal, but it puts the list available because it'll be in the federal database that anybody can access and discover who owns these. We're going to break here for a brief commercial from my new book on Amazon Kindle. I'll be right back in about a minute and a half. Don't go away. My latest book, Self-Defense with Firearms, Use of Force in Nevada, is now available on Amazon Kindle for $4.95. You can download it now. It contains examples of dozens of shootings and pointing a firearm cases that I personally experienced in my 24 years in law enforcement, or where I testified in court or deposition as a firearm and use of force expert. The book is about the use of firearms in defense of yourself and others in my home state of Nevada. I have appeared as an expert witness in Nevada courts dozens of times, and that experience has shown me the necessity of putting pen to paper once again. Nevada state law as printed can be misleading to those of you who read it, as it is written in legal jargon, what I usually call lawyer speak. These statutes are also bent or even broken by the courts in their everyday decisions that we generally call case law. Those are rulings that say this or that statute does not apply in a particular incident and similar cases. That causes the law you are depending on when you make a decision to use your firearm only partially or not apply at all to your actions. Relevant Nevada statute numbers are included here and there, so readers may look up current wording on the Nevada State website. Teaching firearms in 28 law enforcement academies, including cadets from 26 different Nevada agencies, personally instructing over 30,000 concealed firearm permit students and 20,000 private security officers, I've discovered a lot of commonalities in deadly force incidents. Less than 100 pages, this book offers advice that can save lives and costs of expensive defense lawyers to reduce your losses in the inevitable civil lawsuits that follow these incidents. Get a copy, learn how to avoid, prepare for, and react to life-threatening situations. While we're here on that break, we talk often on the show. I'm kind of ad-libbing here to goof up the guy who's trying to run the crawl for me. 95, 96, 97, actually about 98 and almost 99% of cases are plea bargained. You're getting an example of how the attorneys work by if you're watching the trial that's all over the news now over the Cleveland shootings. A case that just started that I'd been working on for some time, which I can't go into the details obviously, but it had been open for better than a year. and everybody throwing, $1 million claims. I want $1 million for this and $2 million for that, and you ruined my life, and whatever side of the issue you were on. And of course, it was settled for a negligible amount. It looks, I can't even tell you that because you might figure out what case it is, but for an amount that didn't really matter, they all settle. Watching the case that's on TV right now with the Chauvin trial is going to prove interesting if you're watching it, as to how the witnesses are acting. And witnesses now, I understand today, are refusing to testify under the Fifth Amendment. The gentleman that was in the car with him when all this took place now has told everybody that he's the key witness because he was in the car and knew exactly what happened, and he's taking the Fifth Amendment. So he probably ain't going to testify. We'll see if they can find a way to get around it. Both sides wanted to use him. So that's always an indication he has something really bad to say when both sides want him. Now, we'll back to the outline here. This is from KHOU TV 11, a journalist named Doug Deloney, reported March 25th, 2021 in Houston, Texas. A store worker told police he feared for his life when he shot a homeless person outside his business in Northwest Houston late on Wednesday. The shooting was reported before 10 p.m. outside a discount corner store in the 6400 block of West 43rd. Officers arrived and found a 30-year-old male on the ground with 2 gunshot wounds. He was taken to the hospital and is expected to survive. Lieutenant Wilkins of the Houston Police Department said the worker who shot the homeless man told investigators he was taking out the trash when the 30-year-old male charged at him. A store worker was questioned by police, the store worker, was questioned by police at the scene. He's the one who called 911 after the shooting. He told the Houston PD that he feared for his life when he shot the homeless man who was charging at him. The store employee was not injured. At this time, no names have been released and no charges have been filed. Comments here, another example of that being armed saves lives. The intended victim never gets to choose the time and the place of the attack. Always be armed when you legally can be. Our world is filled with petty criminals, the mentally ill, and intoxicated subjects who make irrational decisions. What could he expect to gain by charging at a worker taking out the trash? Nothing. Makes no sense. But there it is. Story number 3. This is from WBNS 10 TV, it's CBS station, reported March 27, 2021 in Columbus, Ohio. Columbus police were called to the shooting scene in the area of Vine Street and Kilbourne Street near the Arena District just after 3:20 in the morning. Oh, dark 30 in our terms. According to police, 2 19-year-olds approached a 22-year-old man who was driving down the street. One of the 19-year-olds punched the 22-year-old intended victim and reached into his waistband. Police say the 22-year-old, who had a concealed carry license, took out his gun and shot the first 19-year-old. He was taken to Grant Medical Center where he was pronounced dead. The second 19-year-old aggressor was grazed by a bullet in this incident. No charges have been filed, and police said the case will be sent to the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office for review. That's pretty standard. Anyone with information on the shooting is asked to call Columbus Police at 614-645-4730 or Central Ohio Crime Stoppers at 614-461-8477. This guy's death is the 46th homicide in Columbus in 2021. Presumably, the 22-year-old intended victim was stopped in traffic. Conditions appear to be wet and raining with poor visibility during the incident. There was videotape on the websites that carried this. We must assume that the would-be robbers were standing in the way of the victim driving away. If they were not in the path of the victim's vehicle, perhaps the 22-year-old should have just driven away. The paperwork, possible lawsuits, and vengeful friends of the dead 19-year-old may cause a lot of disruption in the life of this 22-year-old shooter. Just a thought. Sometimes just avoiding the problem is the best solution. I'm not saying don't defend yourself if you have to, but these cases never go away. It will be a life-changing event, no matter what. We're going to break here for a word from some of our friends and associates. I'll be back in about a minute. Don't go away. Freestyle Martial Arts, located at Jones and Russell here in Las Vegas. You can reach them at 702-551-9009. That's 702-551-9009. CCS Gunsmithing. Chris Eifelt, the man who does all the NRA help, he's at 2216 South Rainbow Boulevard near Sahara. He can be reached at 702-365-1732. Once again, 702-365-1732. Jerry Creed, a trust attorney. If you have a firearms trust or need one, this is your guy. You can reach Jerry at 702-806-7777. That is 702-806-7777. CCW Maggie is found all over the internet. You can reach her by phone at 702-375-5900. That's 702-375-5900. All sorts of firearms training, ladies only classes. She is the best of the best. Call CCW Maggie. One thing I forgot after the last break. When you're watching this show, please like it. Click the like button on it if you're getting it on any media, and comment on the show. You can say whatever you want, thumbs up, thumbs down, comment on the show, and then share that comment. That will help us in the wide world of the internet to get more points and whatever for people watching the show. But you have to like it, you have to comment, and you have to share. If you would, please, that'd be great. Now we're going to story number 4. This is from KOMOnews.com. Reports in Kennewick, Washington State, March 26th, 2021. Kennewick police say they were called out at about 1:20 in the afternoon to the 2700 block of South Sherman Street on last Thursday. A woman called about a man armed with a 2-foot-long steel pipe who was trying to break down her door. The woman had a gun and barricaded the door while waiting for the officers. When the investigators arrived, they say a man fled into the back of the home and he was arrested without any force, according to the police. Investigators say there's a protection order for one of the residents at the home that prevents the 65-year-old from being there. He was booked into the Benton County Jail for suspicion of attempted residential burglary and a felony protection order violation. Kennewick police say they were impressed with the great restraint and example of an armed citizen in our city during a very traumatic event. Comments on this: it was perfect. The intended victim did it exactly right. Call 911, block the jerk from entering, and wait for the professionals to arrive. Had he come through the door, she was ready to defend herself, but that option was not needed due to the speedy response from the Kennewick police. That made for a perfect resolution. Nobody hurt, got the bad guy, he's in jail, away we go. I love it when they work perfectly. It's a great example of why you should be armed and practice. Anyway, story number 5. From WFIE TV 14, it's an NBC affiliate, a journalist named Michaela Newcomb reports March 27, 2021, in Ohio County, Kentucky, the Ohio County Sheriff's Office, assisted by the Hartford Police Department, responded to a call of an unknown person attempting to unlawfully enter a residence just after 4 in the early morning, dark 30, 4 in the morning. Sheriff Tracy Beatty reported a male subject, age was not given here, from Paducah, Kentucky, was trying to get inside the residence when the homeowner fired 1 round from a handgun in order to protect himself and his family. That bullet hit the would-be intruder in the right knee. The would-be intruder appeared to be under the influence of an intoxicating substance. Authorities tell 14 News he was taken to Owensboro Health Regional Hospital for treatment of his injuries. The investigation is ongoing at this time. Comments here, clearly a valid use of gunfire when someone is trying to break into your home at 4 in the morning. The placement of the shot deserves some explaining. Many firearms trainers advocate that when confronted by a hostile opponent, an immediate stop can be obtained by firing a headshot. Reality is those shots are difficult at best, as those moving toward you tend to be moving their heads, bobbing their head with each step. Firing instead at what we call the pelvic girdle. It's just below the belt line from hip to hip, and it would usually about 4 inches high on most people. It will usually break a bone, causing him to fall forward quickly onto his face. The 2 in the chest and 1 in the head pattern may be applicable to skilled operators who fire 1,000 rounds a week in practice, but will prove really difficult for most normal gun owners. We're going to break here once again for a little shorter commercial break. I'll be back in just a moment. Don't go away. Attorney Donald J. Green, a common guest of mine on Fired Up. He can be reached at 702-409-8239. He specializes in gun case litigation. He is your man. Don Green, 702-409-8239. And Battlefield Vegas, my new kind of home for this show. They're on Circus Drive, directly behind the Circus Hotel and Casino. You can find them there with CCW classes and an amazing place for gun rentals, everything you could possibly imagine. Check out, if you're in town as a tourist, check out battlefieldvegas.com. Story number 6. This is from WOGX, Fox 35 News, reported March 26, 2021, in Daytona Beach, Florida. The Volusia County Sheriff's deputies are searching for a man and a woman who they said tried to break into a room at a popular motel in Daytona Beach. It happened at the Motel 6 on International Speedway Boulevard around 3 a.m. Saturday morning. The people in the room shot at the intruders, hitting one of them. Investigators say the pair attempted to enter the room via a window, awakening the occupant, who fired a gun at them, injuring the male. It was a sort of male and female, I believe I said, coming into the room. The pair then ran from the motel toward Tomoka Farms Road. Deputies are now searching for them. Detectives are asking the public to be on the lookout for the 2 suspects. The male is described as white, in his 30s, about 6 foot tall, wearing a matching teal shirt and shorts and a yellow hat. Very spiffy. He had been shot in the buttocks. The female suspect is white, about 5'6", carrying a black backpack. Anyone with information about these individuals should call 911, obviously in that area, immediately. There is no indication, this is my comments now, there's no indication in these reports that the intruding couple were carrying or threatening use of a weapon. If that proves to be the case, a loud verbal warning would seem more appropriate than gunfire. Generally, a verbal warning has about a 90% success rate, with a displayed firearm bringing that up to about 95% success rate. Only the truly crazy intruders will continue to attack when warned by an armed potential victim, but they are out there. That's why training and practice are required. Practice for that other 5% that you really may need your gun or you're going to get killed. Story number 7, WOGX Fox 51 News, a journalist named Kevin, we'll just call him Kevin, Aktulia, reported March 25, 2021 in Horry County, South Carolina. Officers were called to Titan Lane just before noon on a report of shots fired. When officers arrived, a 35-year-old woman told officers a neighbor had parked a car blocking her driveway. She told police she went to the neighbor's house to tell them to move the car, and the neighbor fired a gun. The neighbor told police she was sleeping when the 35-year-old repeatedly rang her doorbell. The neighbor said she opened the door and the 35-year-old was yelling and threatening, so the neighbor grabbed a revolver and went out to move the car. She took a gun with her. The 35-year-old allegedly kept yelling at her and threatening her, so the neighbor fired one shot into the air. The neighbor explained to the police that she feared for her life and the life of her infant child. Police say the neighbor acted lawfully under the Castle Doctrine since she feared for her life on her own property. Police smelled alcohol coming from the 35-year-old's breath. The 35-year-old was arrested and charged with breach of the peace and taken to J. Reuben Long Detention Center. She was released after about 2 hours on a bond of $257.50. That's according to her booking records. Booking records also show the 35-year-old was arrested twice in October, once for third-degree domestic violence, once for third-degree assault and battery. Comments here, bringing a gun to a shouting match when you are under the influence is always a bad idea. If you have been drinking or smoking something legal at home, when trouble finds you, keep your firearm out of sight and call 911. Stay out of sight and wait for the cops. The 2 prior events in this case have no bearing on the defendant's guilt or innocence in this case. The homeowner will have, that however, will have great influence on the civil lawsuit for, I'll call it wrongful scaring here, that no doubt will be filed. Welcome to America, where anybody can sue anybody for anything. Read the billboards that are on every street corner, at least here in Las Vegas, sometimes 3 corners all facing each other with attorneys. Did somebody hurt you today? Call me, we'll get millions. Anyway, that's something we have to live with. That exists. I will be back next Thursday on my website, firedupwithboberwin.com, the American Guns and Glory Network, and numerous other websites, television, and radio shows. Don't forget, when watching the show, like us, comment, and share your comment. It really makes a big deal, I'm told. When watching any media, please click on subscribe so new shows will be sent to your computer or phone automatically. Check my recent shows at firedupwithboberwin.com. It contains several dozen episodes. My logo merchandise, hats, shirts, and books are available at Battlefield Vegas, just behind Circus Circus on the Las Vegas Strip. If you're ever in Las Vegas, Battlefield Vegas is a must-see attraction. An amazing place. You've got to go there. You can even crush a tank crush a car with a tank, with an Abrams tank, at their associated outdoor facility. Transportation is provided. You can contact them at info at Battlefield Las Vegas. Wow, I'm having a terrible time at the end here. Contact them, info at battlefieldvegas.com. Thank you so much for watching Fired Up with Bob Irwin. I do appreciate your paying attention. Hopefully, the information given here will save you a tragedy in your life should you need to use your firearm. Have a great week.